it's fine to say that, because at the end of the day, their company wouldn't want your staff on their stand if they're doing a good job. It's just about respecting, why you're there, respecting the company you work for, and respecting visitors. That's what it's about, really. But the communication process, as you can see, is really, really important. Okay, the fifth part of the communication process is a statement of interest. Now, it might not necessarily be a statement. It could actually be a question. So you've got to say something that's going to interest the person you've spoken to. They're a genuine lead, you know you want to talk to them, you want to get them on your stand, and you've got to say something interesting. So something like, how would you like to? And you could finish it down. So for example, if you think you can help with reducing costs, how would you like to reduce your costs? Oh. They're not going to say no thank you, are they? They'll probably ask you a question, how? And then you follow it up with a statement or an invitation. Or what about, how would you like to have a little more time? You know your products, you know what you're offering, you know your solutions to their problems. You've had their problems, now you're going to offer them a solution. So you do that in the form of a statement or a question. But how would you like to is a really great script to start with. And I say script because it should be scripted. Although it's natural, it should be scripted. All of your staff must know what they're saying at this show. So how would you like to add profit to your bottom line? How would you like to reduce costs? Blah, blah, blah. Or you could say, did you know? And then offer them a statement. A one-line statement that's been pre-agreed before the show. So if it was my company, Task Force 2, I'd say, did you know that we promised to double your return on investment at your next trade show? Oh, really? Yeah. Come with me and I'll show you how. So you follow your statement or your question that rouses the interest with an invitation. So it could be an invitation to a demonstration, a pitch, a PowerPoint presentation. But remember, if you're handing over, you could have a couple of problems here. Your presentation, or your on-stand quiz, or your on-stand PowerPoint, could be so successful that they're actually lining up in front of the show. You never know. And if they are, how are you going to hold them? Or if your presentation's going on a bit, and someone's waiting for the next presentation on stand, how are you going to hold them? Any ideas? Well, what about the feedback form that Jim spoke about? You want them to fill out a feedback form, they normally do it at the end, give them the feedback form and say, listen, let's save you some time, while you're waiting, just fill your details in or we'll clip your business card to it, just tick the boxes for me, and then you'll save time at the end and we'll get you straight through. I can guarantee that this works every time. I've never, ever, in nearly 20 years, ever had someone say, actually no. Unless, of course, they're really not interested, in which case you don't want them to say no. Does everyone see how that works? So if you're going to hand over, there might be a section or a small time period where you happen to hold them. So you use the feedback form. The other option would be, Jim mentioned earlier, an entertainer as part of your stand process possibly. You could hire in an entertainer, a cardster, someone doing a few tricks. Some companies use lookalikes, whatever. Just a little bit of entertainment, because what they say is true. When you're having fun, time flies. So that could work in some situations, but not all, and you all know your own situation. Okay, when it comes to the pitch, how long should it last? Sorry? 2 to 3 minutes. Anyone disagree with that? Yeah, that's for a near impossible show. But normally, 2 to 3 minute pitch, or a demonstration, that includes PowerPoint, or a quiz. But the quiz should only really be so that you're asking them questions that you're hoping they're going to know the answer to, because it's actually a little bit of market research for your company. You can talk to us about that after if you want to. So, 2 to 3 minutes. Do you think they've really got to know everything they need to know about your company in 2 to 3 minutes? Of course they haven't. Unless your product is really simple, more simple than ours. No, you need more than 2 to 3 minutes for them to understand what you do, which is why that's great. Because you're asking them to leave the stand when they still want to know more. And if they're still hungry, they're going to be happy to fill out the feedback form. They're going to be happy for you to make a promise of calling them next week or sending them the email next week or the visit in 2 weeks. They're going to be happy because they want to know more. So that's why we say don't give out literature. So the idea of the communication process is it's the first point of making promises that you can keep. So at this point, you do a brief handover, or if you prefer to keep continuity, the same person takes them through the stand and does the pitch. You fill out the feedback form and they go on. How long should the whole process last? From beginning to end, would you say? Less than 5 minutes. How long does an average salesperson spend with a client or a prospect? More than 5 minutes? They spend the first 5 minutes talking about what they had for breakfast, or the children or the weather. So this is a completely different process. A completely different process. So we've looked at, we give you statements of interest, you've taken them through the stand, you've delivered a message that you think they need to hear in 2 to 3 minutes, and you've stopped talking, and then you go through a feedback form. How do we close? A few clues up there. First one is your feedback form. That's a natural close, isn't it? Thank you so much for your time on stand. I tell you what we'd love to do is get you the information you asked for. We don't have it on the stand, but we'll get it sent out to you. Is it okay if we do it next week, because we're at the show till Friday? Okay, great. We'll do that on Monday then. We'll send you out the information. Would you like it on email? Okay, great. You'll get it on Monday then. Okay, and then we'll follow up with a phone call to make sure you've received it and make an appointment for the next step. And they agreed to it, and they've committed to it because they filled out the feedback form. The promise comes naturally with the feedback form. So although these are 3 separate ways of closing a good conversation or a positive lead, you probably do all 3. You make the promise while you're filling out the feedback form and you finish with a handshake. So like I said earlier with the ladies' coffee morning, it's exactly the same. It's a natural process that you would normally naturally do, but because you're in an exhibition environment, you have to be a little bit more aware of it and you focus on it and bring it in within 5 minutes, not a 3-hour coffee morning. Yes, please.
A really quick question. The one thing that I feel might be missing from there is me giving them a way to contact me. Maybe quicker than we would contact them, maybe I'll write a address.
Sometimes, yeah, absolutely. The question was that our colleague here would like to give them something as a way of contacting her. There's absolutely no problem at all in giving them a business card, because that's a contact, that's not information. If they want to check out the website and they're really interested, they will, great. But let's not forget, the communication process is about staying in control. It's not what they want, believe it or not, it's what you want. One of the things to remember is that a prospect might say to you toward the end of the conversation, have you got a brochure? Even at the beginning of the conversation, have you got a brochure I can take? Now, they may genuinely want the brochure, but it can also sometimes be an indication that they're also wanting to get off your stand. Don't presume that they've got 10 minutes to give you. They're happy with the 5 minutes. They're happy that you've taken control. Do you know how many people come back and say to me, you're the only proactive person in this whole show? And that's not to big myself up in any way at all. That's just because the process works. and that those people have identified that actually they're working that stand really well. So you're giving your visitor confidence. If they're asking you for a brochure towards the end of the conversation, it indicates that they are really ready to move on now. How are you going to answer that? Because you've learned today that you're not going to take brochures, are you? Or product information. How would you answer that? Feedback form. You use the feedback form, but if a visitor asks you for a brochure, what will you say? Follow up. Sorry? That's one option. You follow up with a visit and take them the brochure. Absolutely. Do you know what I say? Do you know what? Due to wastage, we no longer bring brochures to the show. But if you'd really like one, we'd be happy to send one out to you. In fact, if you prefer it on email, we can send you an email on Monday. Not one person will say no to that. And in fact, when you look at the people at the show, they've spent 4 hours gradually building biceps while they're carrying these 2 huge, enormous bags that are getting heavier by the stand. And you know, amazingly, they've carried them for 4 hours, but when they leave the exit, they can't make it to the car with them, which is why you see them in the bins or next to the main exit doors, because they actually can't make it to the car with them. So it's so much better for you, it's saving you, it's more cost effective for you, and the best thing of all is it's giving you another point of contact, and that is really important. You want another point of contact. Okay, let's move on. Stand etiquette. So we've finished the communication process now. Stand etiquette. What should your staff do on the stand? Smile and be enthusiastic, we've seen that. You should demonstrate open, receptive body language. We've looked at the reasons why that. Be proactive, be motivated. People walk past the stand where they're all doing this, because it's quite rare. Treat visitors with respect. Jim, I can't believe you did that. Treat all visitors with respect. And that's because you don't know who you're talking to until you actually speak to them. And finally, keep your stand clean and tidy. Now, let's face it, if you were selling your house and you had a visitor come around to view it, that's the one thing you do. You do all of this. It's what you do in life. It's normal. It's how you want to present your home. You're trying to sell it. So why can't you do it for your company? So don't eat on the stand. Don't leave this around. Keep it tidy. Keep it presentable. Don't sit down. Stand up. Be proactive. Get people through the stand. Do not. Now, I will not believe any of you if you say you've never done any of the following. Eat or drink on the stand. Chat with your colleagues. Read books, magazines or newspapers on the stand. Work on your laptop, because that's allowed, isn't it? Because that's work. You're allowed to do that. No, you're not. Make phone calls. Go off the stand. 2 minutes. Go around the corner. I've sent CEOs off stands before. It's no big deal. You know, I'm really sorry, but you're clutching at the stand. Would you mind making a phone call off the stand? No problem. And never leave your stand unattended. And I'm going to add one last thing to that. You may have noticed that I changed my shoes while I was here, because these shoes aren't particularly comfortable, so I put my flats on while I was running around with the mic. I put my high ones on because it helps me to think more clearly, because I feel more professional in heels. Don't ask me why, it's just the way it is. But don't ever break in a new pair of shoes at a trade show. And ladies, take 3 pairs of shoes, and gentlemen, take 2. If you do it, I promise you, you'll never have sore feet at a trade show again. I work sometimes 10-hour shows 4 days a week. 3 different heights, 3 different fields. After a couple of hours, your heels hurt you. After a couple of hours, your knees hurt you. After a couple of hours, your back. But hey, you've got something to change into, so just transfer the pain. And after the show, Jim said how important it is to follow up fast. We can't emphasise enough. We can only help you to the point of getting your leads generated. After the show, you have to buff. You have to. So So if you remember anything, on your head be it if you don't follow it fast after the show. 70% of all leads are never followed up. That is absolutely shocking, but it's true. I've even done it myself. Sadly, we learn as we go. Now remember, when you're following up after the show, I mentioned making promises, keeping promises. You've made the first point of contact at the show. Your second point is the email the same day. The third point is you keep the promise that you made at the show. And how do you know what promise you made at the show? Where have you put it? Feedback form, great. You keep your promise. Third point of contact. Might be an email, might be something in the post. You then make a phone call to make your appointment. 4 points of contact, and you haven't even started talking business yet. Do you realise how much of a rapport you've built up with this person before you even start talking about product? So already you've got a good relationship with them. Believe us, it works. So if you make a promise that we're going to send you out the brochure in 2 to 3 days, so you should get it in about 4 days, and then we're going to follow up the following week to make sure you receive it. Is that okay? Oh yeah, that's fine, thank you. So don't send it 2 weeks later, and don't send it the next day. Keep your promise. If you promise them a phone call next week, don't make it the next day. They may have requested next week for a reason. Keep the promise if you make it. Measure your progress against your targets, so you know how to set your targets now. Jim spoke to you about that earlier. Try and find tangible results. You have to get your whole team talking. This isn't easy, because some sales guys are very, very good with their numbers, and they'll contact the office and say, oh yes, I've done this, and I've done that. And others, you won't hear from them, oh, they were rubbish, couldn't get them. So remember, keep the communication within the company really, really, really tight. Keep on top of it, data spreadsheets, you know what your targets were, measure your results. If you need help with that, speak to us about it. And in summary, always be proactive. You never judge who's walking past, doesn't matter what they look like. Know the targets you're aiming for, know why you're there at the show, know why your company's there at the show, and take action after the event. One thing I do have to mention as well that was brought up earlier with regards to, actually Lucy mentioned something I want to try and remember what it was. It was one word reminder, Rubberland.
Was it to do with different job roles? So if you're actually looking to target perhaps the practice owner or a dentist or the...
Yeah, I remember.
chief
Thank
marketing
you.
officer.
Okay, yeah. It's come to light that some of you at an exhibition may not be able to process particular candidates, delegates, particular conferences in 5 minutes, because that might be your only opportunity of seeing them. And I do know what this is like at medical congresses and conferences. And it might be that it's that particular senior decision maker that you've been waiting to speak to for 3 months, and you can't actually get into the surgery, or you can't get to see them because they are so busy. So obviously you know your own markets, you know how much time you have to spend with these people. But what I would say is don't keep them on the stand, take them off for coffee. Sit down with them. If you have to give them time, but don't keep them on the stand. Is everyone okay with that? Or, yeah?
Can I just ask your feeling then about stands where you do have a meeting area? Some stands can be quite small, of course, but you're there with a stand, you've got a stand for a reason. Taking them off the stand all the time, away from your zone, can be quite dangerous. And the other thing is that whilst you've got people on the stand, even if it's in your sort of meeting area at the back or whatever, you're creating a buzz, people know things are going on the stand. If you take people off the stand stand's dead.
It's true, stands that are busy can create crowds. You still have to be careful of what kind of crowds that you're creating. I do know what you're saying. We have had clients who've done it both ways before, and to be honest, they've stuck with our process and our way of doing it. When we say, you're talking about meeting areas, again, it's a tendency of bums on seats, and you've got to be careful about encouraging people to do that. It really depends on how discreet your meeting room area is. One of our clients regularly uses a meeting room area, and it's kind of behind the glass wall, which you actually can't even see, and it's invited guests only. So if you wanted to do something like that, then who are we to say you can't? It's whatever works for you within your industry. But I'd love to speak to you afterwards to see if there's a better way of doing it, because very often we don't have to do that. Particularly at conferences and congresses, there's often free drinks available for them. There's no need for them to necessarily purchase themselves anywhere particularly. And please don't think that just because you've got a busy stand it means you're having a successful show. That's something that is a persona that we've got to get out of our heads. It's actually down to hard leads at the end of the day, not the kind of image sort of that you're trying to create to other people to make you, a little bit sort of egotistical approach to exhibiting, which has been sort of around since the 90s. So the same goes for eye candy. I hope you know what I'm talking about with eye candy. Very 1990s. Sadly, some companies do still use those sad girls in hot pants and high heels that actually end up better at the end of the day because they can't stand it because they've got bunions and blisters. Sadly, they do still use them sometimes, but it's not a very good company image. If you're going to use style, use one with brains. That's basically it. Any other questions?
Can I just add to having strategies that people that you actually want to meet and speak to on set, but perhaps also having a strategy for some of the other people that are likely to be at the event who may not necessarily be the decision maker at that moment in
An
time,
influencer.
but maybe the influencer, and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
get feedback closer still from those people that feel very disappointed that they were blanked from the stand, when actually they are highly likely to go back to their work of their casework and pass that information on that they could have received at that time.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, for example, like a hygienist in a dentist scenario. Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
and actually just research has shown us and surprised us about the level of spend different job functions within our events have, and so it can be a misconception that it is the job title X that makes the decision at that time. So I would just advise people to perhaps have different strategies for who they can speak to.
absolutely, and different qualifying questions as well. So, for example, if I was at the dentistry show, I know the last would be here going to the dentistry show, and I had a product, and I was targeting maybe a practice manager, I may be asking, are you a practice manager? And they may say, no, I'm not. And I would be saying, what's your role? And they say, well, I'm a hygienist, or I'm one of the dentists. And I'll say, okay, do you have an influence on the practice manager of what's brought in? Or how do you feel about this? Or how do you feel about that? And feel your way. So you know your product, and you know who you're targeting, and you know whether there are influences out there. So you mustn't be completely rigid. Some industries allow for that. Some industries really allow for that. So education show, for example, an education show, you might be targeting just purely the person who buys into schools. But there may be another company that knows that the teacher influences because they may be special needs. So please don't think that you can only allow one job role title through your stand. It's down to you to decide who you need to investigate further. So, for example, if it is a dentistry show, you could be saying, okay, this person is actually a quite highly regarded person, being a hygienist, for example, in the practice. So you'd be asking questions that would be key to giving you feedback as to whether they would influence a decision or whether be part of making that decision. But that is down to you to know. You know your own product, you know how you normally stand and you go through. Does that cover that? Great, okay, so I think, I've gone over by 10 minutes as well, apologies for that. The most important thing is have fun. Really, really enjoy your experience. There is one other thing that I'd like to show you. This is called our sleeping stand in Dubai. I was there back in January, and I don't know if you can see that, but I mean, it's classic. You've got someone on the, just here, actually taking some notes. This person on the mobile, and this guy's actually fallen asleep behind his laptop. So, isn't that absolutely classic? I never took it, the commercial director of the company I was working with took it, and he said, Nick, you've got to use this one, because it's absolutely classic. So that's why we put that one in there for you. This is an example of a very good stand that we did at a machinery show. Everything was very, very, very dull. Machines everywhere, and this was a surface finishing company. So we decided to put them in a jungle in the middle of the NEC and call it I'm a production engineer with a surface finishing problem, get me out of here. So as we went through the stand, you can see here, feedback form being used to full. Along the way was the bush tucker trials that people are getting involved in. Had a great laugh, delivered great messages, and even existing customers realised there was other processes that they didn't realise that could be used. That was really, really good. I put this one in here because this lady here was actually the events manager, and this was the last morning she walked in. She'd already known that we'd smashed the targets for the 5-day show, and this was the beginning of day 5. And she was pleased as punch, so that was a very, very good one. If you want any ideas on something that might be a little bit unusual for you, without breaking any rules within your industry, then again, speak to us after the show. So thank you so much for your time.
Does anyone have any questions for Nichola before we let her go completely? I'll come over with a microphone. State the company before you.
From TriCell PLC, we're in the veterinary and NHS markets. A question with regards to the lead forms and whether you have to have a data capture statement on there with regards to opt-in and opt-out for future marketing after the show. I'm sure you're limited as to how much you can do.
That's entirely up to you, I suppose. If it falls within the remit of what you're allowed to do, then yeah, let me just fully understand what you're trying to say. So, can we use this information for other marketing purposes? Is that what you're asking? As long as you've got a tick box in there and they agree to it, then why not?
Okay. It's just not in your example.
Right, okay.
So, because there are some quite sort of stringent rules in direct marketing, and does that lead form only cover you for one communication linked to that show?
Well, it would be an internal form anyway. It's not something that you'd be publishing, is it? It's something you can use internally for you to track the results of that particular show. And then you get some tangible results as to what worked, and then you use that the following year or the following show, and what didn't work, and that's what you're looking to change. And that's why it's important to measure your results. However, if you did want to use it to track and compare it to other shows, and you feel that that could be a problem, then I should imagine speak with your organisers and perhaps your governing body within your organisation, and have a tick box there that they have to tick to allow it. The other thing that you can use feedback form for very quickly is market research. So you might want to know, well, who are these people currently using? Why aren't they using us? They should be using us. Who are they using? Have you heard of us before? If so, where have you heard of us before? So many little tick boxes that you can put in there. Remember, this is a really basic feedback form, just to give you an idea and a memory aid that you should be using one. But please don't copy it. You know, yours should be bespoke. I mean, we create these for our clients. So if you want the feedback form, speak to us.
Thank you, Nichola. Just to add one thing. Gentleman's right. There are fairly stringent rules around the DPA, Data Protection Act. We police that very, very securely on our side, because obviously we're capturing a lot of data of people that pre-register the shows, come into the shows, and we're also limited and bound by the DPA, which is policed internally within our company quite stringently. If you need some advice in terms of what wording to put, if you do have a feedback or lead generation form on site, I'm sure Lucy and our marketing team can help you with the wording that we use, which is scrutinised by our own internal police, if you know what I mean. So you are DPA compliant, which will allow you then to continue to follow up and send messages, communication to the people that you capture on your stand. So I'm sure we can help you out with stuff that our lawyers have crafted to help all of you get around or comply with DPA. Do we have any more questions? Yes, Anna.
Yeah, I'm Rebecca from Accounts Unlocked. I go to a dentistry show, and I just wondered if you've got any guidelines for numbers of people on stand?
Yeah, we can certainly speak to you about that after. I mean, what we tend to do with our clients is we look at the number of show visitors, we look at your positioning, where you booked your stand, the size of your stand, and obviously your numbers. It depends on how many numbers you need to get through the stand as to how many members of staff you need. We have one of our customers who offers storage solutions. They normally take one of our ladies to manage their stand because they find it very difficult being event managers to get their staff to do as they're told because they're not actually their line managers. And I really sympathise with you, those of you that have the same problem, because it's something that is brought to our attention quite often that, you know, we're not their direct line management, and they look at me and say, you can't tell me what to do. So it's really difficult. But what we would say is that that particular company, although they only ever bring on a stand manager for that reason, occasionally when they don't have enough of their own staff and they think it's going to be particularly high volume, they will bring in extra staff from us if their staff aren't available to do it. So it's really looking at the numbers that you're expecting at the show, the size of your stand, and your personal targets. You're going to do the numbers now after this, aren't you? If any of you are a little bit confused on that, speak to Jim, don't speak to me, I can't. I don't do numbers on blogs, but I can help you with the process on the stand. But obviously your numbers are really important because that's where you can set your targets. So if you need help setting targets, speak to Jim. And if you need help with the other stuff that I've just covered, including how many team members you need, taking into account breaks, lunches. Some companies, if they have high number of staff at the show, they'll just put them on 4 hours a day. So some will do morning, some will do afternoon. It's a great idea, it keeps them fresh. It's just months like me that work the whole show.
I think a lot of it depends also on the size of the stand and the number of products.
Absolutely.
We've seen some stands where someone's got a 6 square metre stand, with 5 sales guys there with clipboards that are creating a physical barrier in front of the stand, which can be quite intimidating to visitors. So I think a lot of it depends on the number of products. If you've got 12 lines of products on the stand, then you're going to get disproportionately more people that might be interested in certain kinds. You've got one proposition, one product, and a small stand. Well, it doesn't take rocket science to figure out you don't need a team of 8 guys with clipboards in a 60%. So it's all those variables, isn't it?
Absolutely. You have to look at every single individual company as a standalone, which is why this training has been good for you, because it gives you some ideas, but it's by no means bespoke. And really it's this bespoke training where you actually get really targeted. But on what you just said with regards to the 8 guys on the stand, it's true. There were some studies done, and it turned out that men don't work so well on stands as women. Sorry guys, but it's because when a man approaches a man, it's a bit of an egotistical challenge. And when a man approaches a woman, she can feel a little bit threatened, or that it's a bit of a come on, so if you like. So whereas when a woman approaches a man, he's flattered. And when a woman approaches a woman, it's natural, it's what they do. They want equal footing. So bear that in mind as well.
I should warn you all that she's very sexist.
Going where angels fear to tread. Any more questions for Nichola before we go? No? Well, please join me in thanking Nichola and Jim very much indeed for like most things. You've been here very patiently, thank you, for the last nearly 3 hours. Even if you can only take home one thing that you can implement that make a difference to whatever shows you're taking part in with us in the next coming weeks or months, and I hope it's made a difference for you. I'm aware we're running slightly behind, and our apologies for that. We do have lunch ready for you after our final session. And we saw a slide from Nichola earlier about a company that's quite innovative, that created more of a destination in an otherwise fairly bland sector, which is the machinery market, and created a jungle. 2 of our main contractors across all of our portfolios and shows are here today. We've got the So Group in the corner there, and we have the Melville Group with the booth here. Their guys are here. They can also help you in helping you create a beachland and turning that into a destination. So do talk to them in terms of, tap their creative brains and how they can potentially help turn your stand and exhibition booth into a destination. So they're here and they'll be throughout lunch. So please go and check what they have to offer for you. So without further ado, I'd like to, one other housekeeping note. There's a feedback form, which I believe is on your table. Perhaps during lunch or when you're bringing food back to the table before you leave, if you give us your feedback, that really does help us understand whether you find what we've been offering you today in terms of the training is worthwhile and help us plan forward for subsequent events. So if you could take 5 minutes to fill that in, we'd be most grateful. Pleasure to introduce colleague Lucy Pitt. Lucy looks after marketing across a number of our events as part of a big marketing team that we have at Closer Still. We are very, very much marketing driven, and Lucy does, as I mentioned at the beginning of the morning, very much the same job as many of you here today do in terms of trying to understand your markets, and our job is trying to understand how we can deliver more customers ultimately to the show and therefore to your company. And Lucy's going to talk to you about how you can take advantage of the very extensive marketing campaigns and opportunities that we undertake to deliver ultimately your customers and the market into the shows. So she's going to take you through how best to take advantage of what we do on a campaign basis and to deliver audiences to our shows. Lucy.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me okay? It's been wired up, so I hope that you can't hear my stomach rumbling and that doesn't distract from some of the key and important messages and tips, hopefully, that I'd like to get across this afternoon. So, as Michael said, I work across a number of the events here at Closer Still, and what I want to do this afternoon is just take you through a few slides to give you, hopefully, just a little bit of insight into the activity that goes behind the scenes, really, the activity that we work very hard on to deliver the audience to the show, and it's to your show, and ultimately to drive prospect and the people that you really are looking to talk to your stand. I'm going to be introducing the concept of co-op marketing, because, as Michael has said a couple of times now, effectively we have the same objective. We're looking to drive people to this show. We're looking to understand what it is that you're looking to achieve over the 2 days and to deliver people to your stand so that you get that return on investment. And I believe if we can work together to do that, we will have a much better result, and you will get the result you're looking for. I'm also going to take you through some of the promotional tools that are already available, and these are activities that you should be using to promote yourself. So we've heard from Jim this morning, and he's given you lots of fantastic advice about how to prepare for your stand or what to do on your stand. Nichola gave us some fantastic tips about how to be on your stand and how to deal with people who come to talk to you in the right prospect. What I want to go through with you is what we should be doing before that, and it's the activity that you need to do alongside what we do as a business, because collectively we'll have a much better result. Now, I don't know if some of the tools will be, may well be new to you. I suspect they will. We do our best as a business to communicate to our exhibitors, to our clients, so that you know what is available to you. And it might be sometimes that you work through communication agencies or PR agencies that we don't know about. So before I forget to mention it, please can you make it known to us if you're not the right person we should be talking to on a marketing level about what you're doing at the show, because there may be opportunities you're missing. Now, I saw Nichola ask who was here in the room, and a few people put their hands up for marketing representatives, which is brilliant, so I hope that you come and have a chat with me afterwards. My objective this afternoon isn't to preach to you how to market your products and your services, but I hope if you can take away from these few slides that as a business, Closer Still, and as a marketing team, we're incredibly eager to work with you to make sure that you get the results that you're looking for. We're very flexible as a business as well. It isn't a case of this is what we do and when we do it. Really open to understand how we can work with you so you get the result you're looking for. So if you have ideas, then please come and speak to us about that. Obviously, I'm going to say I think we're incredibly creative and our marketing campaigns are amazing. But equally, if you know what works for your prospects, then let us know, because we have the ability to invest, as we do heavily in our marketing across our 12 to 13 shows in our portfolio. We are now looking at upward of £1 million investment, so we are absolutely not afraid to try anything new if it will deliver for you, our clients. And what I'm going to talk you through is pretty much shows you that we do everything we possibly can across a number of channels to get those results. I haven't got the clicker actually, so change slides. Okay, so this is what we do in-house, what goes on behind the scenes, and along the way there are opportunities that you can work with us, and I'll highlight those as we go. So, print. Direct marketing is a hugely big part of our campaigns, and Michael mentioned that data is very important to us, and making sure that we're communicating to the right people. We have a number of direct mail campaigns that we will run across our shows, ranging from maybe 2 different direct mail campaigns up to 4, maybe getting up from 5,000 people right up to 50,000 people, obviously depending on the size of the audience and what the show is. So we'll send postcards. I have put examples over there, but I'll perhaps show them all together later. Postcards that we send out to people. We have our main conference programme ticket, which is a huge 8 double-sided printed piece. We have our newspapers, which you may have seen. We've got some at the tables over at the front. But these are pre-show newspapers as well as throughout the year. Opportunities for you to tell us your news, what you're going to be doing at the show. Anything that's relevant from an industry editorial point of view. These are elements that you can be getting involved with in the activity that we're already doing to provide the information to our potential delegates. The practice and department pack is something that we've recently launched, and is something that is a huge opportunity for you to get involved with. For example, we've recently mailed 6,500 pharmacy owners of an independent pharmacy business, 1 to 10 pharmacies across the UK, and that pack is designed to deliver information. Obviously that one in particular is for our pharmacy show, which is coming up next week. And that will be to deliver information to the pharmacy owner and to encourage them to really care about their staff and their team and the education and the career of their staff. And so we have information in there that is designed to be delivered to the technician, that's designed to be delivered to the counter assistant and to the pharmacy owner. We've got information in there about the exhibition and a gift as well, so thank them for taking the time to look through this information. And then a sign-up pack to help them make it as quick and easy as possible to register for our events. The point here is this is investment that we're already making to communicate the benefits of attending our show. How about you help me do that by giving me some additional benefits of what you are doing that's going to be of interest and benefit to the delegate? Why is your product so great? What new launches have you got? What demonstrations will you be holding? Because I would absolutely love to include that in this information. And we do communicate to our exhibitors and say this is what we do and this is what opportunity there is. But we know you're incredibly busy on a day-to-day basis, and unfortunately these are opportunities missed. So hopefully the few of you today will pick up on a few of these concepts, and perhaps just know that if you are working through your strategy of what you're going to do in the run-up to the show, just pick up the phone and say, what are you guys doing and what can we get involved with? We obviously work with the trade press. Hopefully you'll see all of our advertisements and the editorial pieces that we put together. And we have our inserts in there as well. I'm going to talk more about the co-op marketing opportunity just in a moment, so I'll come back to that. So, a multitude of activities in print. that we do electronically. Obviously can't fail to ignore the growth in social media, the email communication that we send out. And there is a difference between our events and what works best. And in some industries we are finding in fact that it is almost going back on itself, and that direct mail is a lot more receptive because there are thousands of emails flying around the place. But it might be that some sectors are more receptive to email communication, or in fact the social media, which is huge now across some of our healthcare sectors. And so we are increasing what we're doing with social media and Pinterest and Google+, and all these new portals that are coming out on a weekly basis. We also use mobile actually, which is another tool, usually as a way to just remind people the show's next week. Everybody's really busy, and you know, if we don't do this, people can forget, people can miss these things. All of these channels effectively provide an opportunity for you to either work with me and the team to communicate what it is that you're doing at the show, because if I think that's relevant and of interest and a big enough hook, then I want to use that, because ultimately I'm looking to drive visitors as much as you are. So I think the main thing here is just communicate. Okay, co-op marketing. So we have a budget that's set, and we have to plan what we're going to do to work with that. I know what the benefits are of attending the show, but I'm going to obviously be more partial to sing and dance about the features, and perhaps forget what it is that the show can, how the show can help individuals save money, help patients, deliver better patient care, perhaps increase processes, improve bottom line, whatever it is that your product and your service delivers, that's information that I want to know about. And so if we can work early enough in our marketing cycle, I can help you to program some bespoke marketing strategies and campaigns so that we are actually delivering a message to a particular and key audience. So I want to understand what communication channels perhaps you already use. I bet your marketing teams already send emails out about what you're doing, and hopefully send out information about the show and come and see us at the show, etc. Well, how about we piggyback those communication channels alongside the channels we already have? How about we put something together that's talking specifically about you? And if we do that early enough, again, there may be the potential for us to do some great stuff and fund that. Databases. Data is absolutely vital to the success of our business, and so we make sure that our data is up to speed, is up to date, is clean, etc. But I bet you have some fantastic databases, especially of your key prospects, people that possibly you're currently talking to but you haven't quite got there, or people that are in a certain category that if they did come to the show and see you in all your glory, see your products being demonstrated, perhaps they would actually make that decision. Now, Jim did mention about perhaps not having all the singing and dancing things on the stand, and I do agree with an element of that. But I think it's really important also to remember, especially in the healthcare sector, these are incredibly busy people, and they have taken the time out of their diary to come and get that information. So obviously you'll know what's right in terms of how much to give them, but I do believe it can work incredibly well to do a bespoke campaign, inviting those key people from you to come and see, working in order, whatever it might be. And it saves them time, and it also saves you time having to do that in front when they come to you. Advertising, I don't know if anybody here has budgets to do their own advertising. Again, early on enough in the cycle, I'd be really interested to speak to your marketing teams about what your plans are for that, because it may be that we can join forces together and actually look at the advertising schedule that we have in-house to add to what you're doing and vice versa. And the direct mail, again, if you have an audience a database of key people, we are more than happy to work with you, whether that's a bespoke direct mail or whether that's you piggybacking something we're doing. I mentioned the Practice Pack. How many in here perhaps are interested in targeting a particular role within a practice and you're not quite sure how to get them? This could be a way. And also, while it's in my mind, I'll just mention about if you're looking to target a particular job role, if somebody else comes to speak to you on your stand, and Nichola mentioned how you need to be flexible because that person can in fact be an influencer. It's highly important to understand that they may well be going back with that information, with the information from the Practice Pack to say, again, I saw this company. Think about it, I suppose, from before the show, what activity you're going to do to what can happen at the show. And with that campaign, with what you're doing to encourage people to come to the show beforehand, what is it? Why are you there? What is unique about your product? Do you have a new product launch? Are you going to be doing demonstrations? Could you offer people one-to-one advice clinics that I could then promote in advance? What is it that you are doing from your stand that's a benefit to the delegates? I put competition on here and I was worried earlier when I heard you mention no competitions, but I think if it's targeted and if you're going to give away something of benefit and of value to the person that actually you're looking to build a relationship with, then I think it can be a good thing. I've put cake, so you're all going to hate me, but again I think if you're going to have meeting space incorporated into your stand in some form so that you invite the targeted and the key people you do want to have a conversation with, why not? So on the invite, hi Bob, love to see you at the show. I know you've been looking at our product X, Y, Z. We're going to have it there. Come and have a chat with us, some coffee and some cake. Why not? It's just a nice too, but ultimately it's not going to be there for anybody who just walks by. Okay. I think I did this just to make a point, really. So we do our activity direct mail, email, whichever way, and obviously as a company we're going to say you should come. Our event's great, you really need to be there. So it's obvious that what we say out to the market is going to be pretty one-sided. So we work with media also to try and spread our message, and we pride ourselves in working with the biggest and the best publications out there for the reputation that we need and to deliver the message to get that across that we do. But equally, people will see that and perhaps think, yeah, but they paid for that, so it's going to say what they want us to say. So we work with all of the associations as well and make sure that we are aligning ourselves with all of the relevant and professional regulatory bodies, and we have the ability then to communicate through their communication channels. And if you think that a person has received an email from me saying you should come to this event, then they've seen a magazine, an article in a magazine from perhaps one of our speakers talking about one of the clinical issues that they're going to be debating at the show. And then an association sends a letter out to their members saying, this is why we think you should be there, we're going to be there, come to support us. The icing on the cake for me is what you do. Because as I mentioned, you know who your prospects are. If we can work with you to send a bespoke, niche and very targeted, so this might be 50 people, it might be 300 people, but an invite to say, love to see you at the stand because, and you know why. That's going to make all the difference. And put all of that together, we get thousands of people coming to our show, and you get a busy stand, and you get people to talk to. Ask for more. So I've pretty much said all this already. Ask us what we're doing in advance and what you can get involved with. The newspaper inserts, the practice packs. There's opportunity to work with us more on the website. We're desperate for information about what you're doing, for news stories, for editorial, because the website obviously drives registrations, email sponsorship that we send out. Hopefully you've seen our emails, and we get up to 1,000 hits a day on our website when we run up the show. Okay, this is all free, So there's absolutely no excuse for you guys not to be getting involved in this. Hopefully you will have your information listed on our exhibitor lists. If you don't, if you've had trouble with the computer system for whatever reason, then just email your contact, here's my logo, here's my 50 words, put it on the website please. Really important. Banners on the website, don't believe they are free actually, so that's just like saying in all cases, but ask us about it and tell us what you've got. New product information and our press releases and news stories appear on the front page. We get really, really good Google rankings as well, because if you think of all the companies that are linked with us on our websites across our exhibitor pages, across the news portals, across our RSS feeds. So just give us information and let's build all these links. This is what we call our exhibitor toolkit, which we send out to everybody. An e-ticket, so we can actually have your own logo on here, your stand number, so you can just send that out electronically to your database. We have icons which you can put on your own advertising, and then banners for your email signatures or for your website. I know some people do use these and very successfully because we can track where registrations come from, but I know there's loads that don't. So again, be aware that this is available for you. Link with us on all of our Twitter sites as well, and like us on our Facebook, and let's make sure that we're benefiting from everything that's already happening. And the show guide, of course, I believe we do our very best to chase everybody for all the listings and the information, to just make sure that you know that these are activities that you need to do, because you need to stand out from the crowd, and you need to invite people to your stand specifically for what you're doing. We can do as much as we can, and believe me, we really do, but working together makes all the difference, and you planning what it is that you've got will give you that success. So in summary really, I'm just suggesting plan ahead, think about this, don't just buy a stand and turn up, because it doesn't quite work that way. Integrate it into your marketing strategy. So do your own marketing, but make use of what's already there. There are things that don't cost you anymore. Equally, if we plan things in time and you have the ability to incorporate some of your budget, we can help it go further. And then shout about it, tell people what you're doing, have your sales rep out on the road, talk about it, have it on all of your information and literature, because a lot of our events is very close-knit communities and people talk. And that's it. Thought I'd make it short and sweet because tummy is rumbling. Does anybody have any questions for me? I hope that was of interest.
No questions? Can I just add a final comment? There's a truism in our business that, and in exhibitions in general, is that what you get out of it is always directly proportionate to what you put in. And we get two types of exhibitors. We get passive exhibitors that will turn up on the day, have a great stand, great products, good salespeople, and things will happen. And then you get our active exhibitors, who will disproportionately get more out of their investment, who see the 2 days, whether it's in the NECLLs or Olympia, adult shows, that see that as a culmination of a campaign, of an initial campaign, and then, but that's only halfway there. The main work is done processing the leads. And there are really some shocking truisms too. Nichola talked about, and it's true, it's an industry statistic in our world, the Association of Exhibition Organisers. Believe it or not, yes, we have one too. 70% of leads aren't followed up. And the mind boggles, like, so why do you go there? A lot of people are still trapped in the old thing, well, we've got to be seen to be there, because otherwise people think we're going out of business. We've got to get past that. And the thing is that, what Lucy's talked about, we invest at least 6 figures cold, hard cash into our marketing campaigns. That's just cash spend. You multiply it by the multiple deals and contra deals and deals we have with associated media, and you're probably talking into very high 6-figure marketing campaigns. Now, that's there for you. All we're doing, ultimately, very simple our world, is delivering you qualified leads. Why are they qualified? Because by the fact they've walked through the door, they've got out of their office, got on their car, on the tube, on the train, and said, I'm going to give up a day, 2 days, half a day to be at this show, already pre-qualified from being there. There's also a truism in our world, is that Lucy's job and our job is leading the horse to water. It's your job to make them drink. And you are competing for share of voice, share of time, and competing with up to sometimes, if you take the pharmacy show in a week's time, 360 other companies that want that precious time from those buyers that we've assembled there. So just to kind of ram home, in case you're in any doubt, is trying to think about, not, oh, the show's in October, don't need to think about it now. Get on to these guys 6 months in advance, because that's when we start, is planting the seed and leading up to our campaign to deliver a critical mass of decision makers in the market. A lot of the stuff that we do, ultimately, is doing all the same stuff that you do. And we're well funded in our marketing, and just want to underscore the point too. If you've got a brilliant idea, if you've got something that is going to help hit that tipping point where someone deciding to go or not to go to the show, then talk to us about it. And if it's a fantastic idea, we'll put some money behind it with you. So if you've got some marketing campaign, if part of your whole budget for the show includes some marketing activity to prospective or current customers, the lead up to the show, talk to us about joining forces and we'll back you, we'll pick some money in with you and do some co-branding.